Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I'm talking about volume number 1 in Dojyomaru's light novel series, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. This one available on ebook from J Novel Club. And I'm a little bit behind because I believe, I just did my video, volume number 3 of this one is actually coming out in June, so I'm just getting caught up with volume number 1. I am really glad that I decided to pick this one up. So, volume number 1, we have our main character, Soma, who is, of course, a typical young man in Japan. He's about 19, getting ready to go into university, and he gets summoned to another world. It's an isekai, which immediately I was a little leery about, but so basically, as it turns out, the country that has summoned Soma has summoned him into this world that, well, they've got a problem. A demon dimension has opened up at the northern part of the land, and the demons have poured forth. Now, nations have managed to hold them at bay, but the main nation that's holding sort of the demons at bay is this massive empire, and they've basically said to these smaller kingdoms, hey, you know what? We're making sure that mankind doesn't get eradicated, so you either have to send us a crap ton of money, or we know that some of you have magic to summon a hero, we want you to do it, and then send the hero here. Now, Soma, of course, is not a stupid person, and he kind of figures out that just maybe being sent to the front lines of fighting a demon empire might be a bad thing. And so he basically convinces the kingdom to figure out a way to raise funds so that they can pay off the empire and he can stay in the kingdom. Now, his ideas are so well received by the king that the king decides to abdicate his throne to Soma and let him be the brand new king. And now this poor boy from Japan finds himself with a failing kingdom that is faced with cash shortages, food shortages, a crumbling economy, and now he's got to try and fix it. So, in the same way that Spice and Wolf was like a awesome light novel series based on economics of trade, How a Realist Hero Saved the Kingdom is like an economics 101. It is almost like a sim. Like if you were going to compare it to a video game, which I mean a lot of the isekais do, it's like a sim, but thankfully at this point there are no video game mechanics. At this point it is, well, I think it's probably best to say how this one does things different. So first of all, yes, it is very heavily about economics and about social engineering, and Soma is basically taking a look at this kingdom now that he's king, and he's getting down to business to try and fix the problems. So what's one of the first things that he does, for instance, is to try and root out if there's any corruption. Are people actually stealing from the kingdom? Are there nobles that are pilfering money from the kingdom that are causing or aiding this economic crisis? And then he starts looking at crop production. He starts taking a look at roads. I mean, the whole thing is really like he has no superpowers. Like we don't have, for once, we have an isekai where the main character isn't OP as hell and just kind of like cakewalks through every challenge. If anything, Soma is OP in terms of his intellect. Now, of course, he tells the reader right through it that he is actually an economics student, and that he seems to really be a big fan of Machiavelli's The Prince, and he quotes it a number of times throughout the book, and it's really about his mind, and it's about how he's trying to turn the kingdom around by applying modern economic ideas to this, feudal state. Now, there's a couple of things that I really like about this story. First off, I like Soma's character. And I don't say that often because a lot of characters in isekais are very kind of cookie cutter. There's not a lot of dimension to them. They are a very vanilla, fit the mold of the particular hero we need. With Soma, I get the sense that there's depth to this character. The fact that he is able to be a good guy, but yet is still able to kind of take a look at things in a calculating manner. He isn't rash. He criticizes himself when he really does kind of need to be criticized. He acknowledges that he has some short-sightedness on things. He acknowledges that he actually will need help to accomplish the things that he wants to do. Even the one sort of magical ability that he gains, he sees that the best use to it is administration. and it's hard to explain. You'll have to read the book to really, like, again, I don't want to get into details, but, you know, it's not like he's been gifted with this superpower that just can easily overcome anything. No, it is a power that, yes, it has all sorts of different applications, but the most immediate application that he puts it to is being able to fill in multiple documents at once. And so we have this main character that he is calculating, he is intelligent, he observes, he understands that he needs help and that he doesn't have all the answers. He is wise in his decisions about the people that he is choosing to help him and why he's choosing them, and doing things that speak to their strengths. We also have, despite the fact that there's a bit of a harem aspect to it, and I will say there was one point in the book where I was like, oh, here we go, it's going to be all haremish. And then, nope, we kind of pulled back a little bit. I was happy, because you all know that I'm a little burned out on the whole harem thing. But what I really liked was, as part of the abdication, the old king also says that Soma's now betrothed to the king's daughter, Licia. Now, Licia is a really decent female character. She has a fairly good head on her shoulders. She, even though she's grown up in this world and most of her knowledge on ruling is based on her father, that we kind of get the idea wasn't the greatest king of all time. He ruled more through, like, being loved as opposed to actually getting stuff done. You know, obviously she isn't aware of some of the more modern techniques that Soma's applying to things, but she shows an awareness and she shows an intelligence and she asks him intelligent questions. She's never this airheaded character. You can see that she's calculating. Like, she doesn't immediately have your very stereotypical storming in, screaming and whining because why am I engaged to this guy and all this kind of crap that we're used to. Instead, she takes a really measured approach. She's like, you know what? Maybe he's a good thing for the kingdom. Maybe it's like partly my duty to make sure that he keeps at this. And there's this really sweet relationship between them. I ship it, you know what I mean? Like, when you have harems, I can't say that I always ship one relationship over the other, but this one, I'm on board, I'm on the boat, and I ship it. And because they just seem like such a good match for each other, and you have this, like I said, she's an intelligent character, and she offers good insight to him at times. And because she went into sort of the military side of things, she has perspectives there that he doesn't. And it's, you know, it is a really good book, actually. I found myself really getting into it, because as each challenge comes up, you sort of see how Soma's going ahead, and then you'll get little tidbits that you're seeing that, okay, he's got some plan going on, and then I'm hooked because I'm like, what's he going to do now to try and fix the kingdom's problems? It's just such a different thing than your typical, like, oh, what magic weapon is he going to get today? Oh, what magic power is he going to get today? Oh, he killed the enemy and now he's doing this, or oh, he did. No, it's like, it's all just about brains, and it's all just about trying to work with what you have at hand to accomplish tasks. And I thought it was interesting because one of the common threads throughout the book is the whole idea of how technology comes about in this society because the society has magic. And he talks about how there are gaps and holes in terms of they're able to accomplish this because of magic, but yet this thing that in our world would be considered a fairly simple, step above medieval life, nobody really has considered because, there's been no need. He really talks about how in our world, because we don't have magic, we have had to incrementally create things, whereas in their world, they've been able to jump over steps because magic compensated. And it's not really something that you hear very often, but it plays a huge part in his thinking about how he's going to try and fix some of the problems in the kingdom, or acknowledging what has caused or led to some of the problems in the kingdom. It's really well done. It's well put together. And like I said, when there's a few bumps in the road where, it looks like, oh, danger sign, we're going to fall into a big, huge trope here, it's like the author just kind of pulls it back a little bit just to kind of be like, yeah, I know what you're all thinking, and we'll stick our toe in that water, but we're not jumping into it. Which made me feel a lot better about the series overall. And as you get later into the book, it starts being not just about economics and about, social constructs and about how to sell things, reforms and changes to the masses. You start seeing more politics, and you start seeing sort of more intergovernmental affairs and problems. And of course, because there are these sort of warring states, then it's also about international relations, which I think future volumes are going to get far more into. And one of the things that this book does, and I'm going to admit a weakness that I have for stories. When a story sets something like this up, where you have a figure who could be implementing massive change to the way society is, every once in a while a book they'll detail what's going on, and then just as like this little aside paragraph, it'll be like, 30 years after this happened, blah, 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 blah. Like, one of the things, and I won't over detail it, because again, trying not to do spoilers, but there is a character who knows certain information, and Soma encourages him to continue passing that information on, because he's like, people will need to know this. Like, this is a good thing that you know this, and this is good information that people should continue to have. So as long as you live, you need to teach it to people and make sure that they continue on passing this information. And then the little blurb is like, 30 years later, blah, blah, blah happened and blah, blah, blah. But it was good because everybody kind of knew what was going to happen because of this guy. And I'm a real sucker for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. And funny enough, I don't think I've ever done anything like that in my own writing, but I'm just a real sucker for that kind of thing, because it really, I find, pulls me in. It makes me feel like this story is part of a history. It's not just, and particularly I would say this story is very much about history, because Soma is rebuilding this kingdom. I mean, that is how, that's the story. That's the tale of this, is how this individual with different ideas came in to try and rebuild a kingdom and save its people. And so you do feel like you're sort of playing this part and seeing this history unravel. And when the book throws these little sneak peeks at, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know, like I'm just a real sucker for that stuff. It really just makes me feel like the story's just that little bit deeper. And I think it's because it makes the events that you're reading about seem like they're more concrete. Like, it's not just some flash in the pan, like, oh, he killed a monster, yay. No, it's like the groundwork he's laying today, 30 years from now, will still have meaning. It will still be something. And I like those stakes. And because and like I said, this book being so different from a lot of the other isekai that I have read, I really liked it. I'm sure you can tell by the way that I'm going on about it. But But yeah, I was really surprised by how much I liked it. I was a little leery. I kind of thought when I had heard that it took more of a economic viewpoint, I kind of wondered, well, how's that going to work? But it's so much more than that. I mean, it is about a person trying to rewrite culture, economics, agriculture, like everything about this, and how he does it is clever and intelligent, and even when he fumbles, it's a good enough character that he acknowledges how and why he fumbled and strives to do better. I mean, like I said, there are two characters here that I am shipping their relationship. Like, I am rooting for them because they're good characters, and their relationship, they are good together. And they break through a lot of the silly tropes that I'm kind of burned out on. So I've got really high praise apparently for this novel. Is it perfect? No, I'm not going to say it's perfect. But, you know, in terms of a modern day character applying modern day stuff to a world that they've been summoned to, it's a little bit unique. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in No Game, No Life, absolutely. But that's really not the focus of that series, whereas this one, it is absolutely the focus. And it's really good. I really enjoyed this one. I'm hoping future volumes are decent. I'm behind. Volume 2 is already out. Volume 3 is coming out very soon. But yeah, if you aren't completely burned out on isekai yet and you're looking for something that's a bit different, I mentioned Spice and Wolf earlier. So, I mean, if you're looking for something that's more like that, that's more of an intelligent look at things and more of a, you know, applying some real world sort of stuff to this fantasy world and trying to fix things, then this may be something that you should check out. So those are my thoughts on How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, volume number 1. The next one I'm going to be reading is volume number 2 of, it's all shiny because of the light, volume number 2 of Goblin Slayer. You know, I did the whole funny la ha ha like fantasy with Konosuba. Now it's time to get into some violence and mayhem and blood and gore and all that good stuff. So that'll be my next review, volume number 2 of Goblin Slayer. So if you love light novels and you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out all of my future light novel reviews. I really appreciate all of you joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.